6 tips on being a successful entrepreneur. They told you to follow the plan, to wait for the perfect idea, to get an MBA before starting a business. But what if I told you that the most successful entrepreneurs in the world ignored all of that? What if the secret isn't learning the rules, but knowing exactly when to break them? The truth is, there's a less obvious, unconventional path, the same one taken by people like Elon Musk, the founders of Uber, Nike, Lynda.com, and so many others. They didn't start with everything figured out. They started with a problem, a fire inside them to change something, and the courage to say, yes, we can. They didn't ask for permission. They took action. And the reward? It came to those who were bold enough to move with purpose and clarity. In this video, you're going to discover the 6 entrepreneurial mindsets behind the kind of businesses that truly make history. We're not talking about empty motivation or step-by-step formulas. We're talking about strategic vision, bold execution, and decisions that change lives. If you feel like you have more to give to the world, if you know there's an idea inside you're just waiting to be born, then get ready. Because right now, you're about to see what really separates the dreamers from the doers. Some people say success in business is all about following the rules. But over the years, I've learned something different. The most remarkable entrepreneurs are the ones who dare to break those rules. They look at the world with curious eyes. They see challenges as fuel. And they're driven by something far greater than just profit. They're here to solve real problems. These men and women aren't superheroes, but they do have something in common, a mindset that challenges convention. They're like the founders of Tesla, Uber, Lynda.com, people who saw what others couldn't. And instead of asking, may I, they simply said, yes, we can. And that's not just optimism. It's a conscious decision, a choice to walk the path of innovation. Business schools, including the London Business School, where I teach, often focus on linear strategies, polished spreadsheets, market analysis, and complex theories. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what rarely gets taught is how to think differently, how to challenge models, how to bet on what can't yet be measured. A true entrepreneur isn't born in a classroom. They're born from the courage to act, from the curiosity to ask, what if, and from the almost insane drive to make things happen. You don't learn that by memorizing formulas. You live it, out in the real-world battlefield of startups. Anyone who's had the courage to walk off the beaten path knows. The map they teach doesn't cover the real territory. Nike started by targeting a tiny niche. Linda Wyman launched what was just an experimental site to showcase her students' work and ended up selling it for billions. That didn't happen because she followed a textbook. It happened because she had one of the unconventional mindsets I now teach my students. She saw opportunity where others saw just another website. What started as something small became a revolution in digital learning. And here's the thing. These mindsets, they're not superpowers. They're choices. They're ways of seeing. They're how you face fear, adjust your path, test ideas, fail, and try again. They challenge the script written by traditional business strategy books. And the best part? They're teachable. Yes, you can learn to develop each of these lenses. You can train yourself to spot hidden opportunities. You can learn to act faster, think differently, and move forward even when the world tells you you can't. That's why, over the years, I've gathered 6 key principles. 6 mindsets I've seen time and again in extraordinary entrepreneurs, not just in Silicon Valley, but anywhere someone dared to start from scratch. Each one is a piece of the puzzle that defines modern entrepreneurship. And if you think this sounds like another motivational talk from a stage guru, just wait, because each of these ideas will completely change how you look at your market, your business model, and even the way you make decisions. Let's begin with the most powerful one of all. Have you ever noticed how great entrepreneurs never get stuck in that old mindset of, that's not our area? They don't hide behind job titles or fancy degrees. When they hear an unusual request, something unexpected, their first instinct is to say, yes, we can. And no, that's not arrogance. That's courage mixed with creativity. It's the ability to recognize that a strange client request might actually be a gateway, A door to a whole new business model, a complete reinvention, a game-changing opportunity. And that's exactly where Arnold Correa comes in, a living example of this unconventional mindset. Arnold didn't sit on the sidelines when someone asked for something outside his company's scope. He didn't say, "Sorry, that's not what we do." He paused, calculated the risk. Sure, but then he acted. He said yes when asked to set up satellite broadcasting for 260 stores across Brazil, even though he had zero experience with satellites. So what did he do? He studied. He tested. He built it from the ground up. That's real entrepreneurship. There's no lack of experience excuse, just the will to solve problems. And that trait? It's something all the major players have in common. The willingness to go one step further. Look at Tesla. They committed to selling electric cars before the product was even ready. Or Uber. They launched long before anyone even considered regulating ride-sharing apps. Each one of them said yes to something that, technically, was beyond their immediate reach. But that's the secret. The yes doesn't come because everything's ready. It comes from a mindset that believes you can build the road as you walk it. And that, my friend, is a muscle you can train. So the next time someone brings you an idea that's outside your comfort zone, don't shut it down right away. Ask yourself, what if I said yes? What if this opens up a whole new path for growth? Sometimes what you really need isn't more resources. It's more boldness. Have you ever thought about saying yes to a digital transformation project, even if you're not a tech expert? Have you considered expanding into a new market just because someone planted a crazy idea in your head? Big leaps are often born from bold answers to uncomfortable questions. If you want to build something extraordinary, start practicing this mindset. No, you don't have to say yes to everything, but stop rejecting ideas just because they're not in the business plan. The best plans are the ones flexible enough to catch the wind of opportunity. And sometimes saying yes to something unlikely is exactly what will take you to the next level. But here's the thing. It's not just about saying yes. It's about knowing what problem you're solving with that yes. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. If there's one thing that separates brilliant entrepreneurs from people who are just making stuff, it's a simple yet powerful difference. Great entrepreneurs see problems. The others, they only see products. It might sound like a small detail, but it's the difference between building something people actually need and building something that only you think is cool. Think about it. While big companies are obsessed with launching the new and improved, more colors, flashier packaging, shinier features, real entrepreneurs are out in the field asking, what's bothering people right now? That's thinking outside the box, but with your feet planted firmly in the real world. That's exactly what drove Jonathan Thorne. He didn't wake up one day with a random idea to invent a new metal alloy just to say he had innovated. No, he found a real problem. Surgical forceps were sticking to human tissue during delicate operations, and he made a decision to fix it. No glamour, no spotlight, just pure, old-school entrepreneurial thinking. Focus on solving a problem that actually mattered. And here's what's fascinating. He started small, working with plastic surgeons, and eventually found an even more sensitive niche, neurosurgeons. That's what real purpose-driven innovation looks like. Now here's where a lot of people slip up. They spend years developing an amazing product, only to discover no one wants it. Ever seen that happen? Someone pours all their money into R&D, design, patents, packaging, only to hear a crushing, "Yeah, I don't really need this." So now think about this. What if that same energy were channeled into actually understanding the market's pain points? Take Tesla, for example. It didn't start out selling cars. It started out selling a solution, to drastically cut down emissions in the automotive industry. The car, that was just a delivery system, literally. So how do you apply this starting today? You listen, really listen. Talk to your customers. Talk to your audience. Check the comments, read the forums. Pay attention to what people constantly complain about. Sometimes you don't need to invent something new. You just need to fix something that's already broken. That's what Uber did. They didn't invent transportation. They fixed the terrible experience people had with taxis. Brilliant startups are born from this kind of active listening. Ask questions like, what frustrates you the most about this service? Or, if you could change just one thing about this product, what would it be? That's where the gold is. Because once you start looking at the world as a collection of unmet needs, just waiting for solutions, the game changes. You stop being just another seller, and you become a problem solver. Someone who builds businesses with soul, with real impact, with purpose. And here's the twist. When you start thinking this way, you'll realize you don't need to serve everyone. Because often it's by thinking narrow that you end up building something extraordinary. Have you ever fallen into the trap of trying to sell to everyone? It's tempting, I know. After all, the more people you reach, the bigger the profits, right? Wrong. That's what we call the illusion of reach. The truth is, the strongest businesses were built by people who chose one specific group, with one specific problem, and solved it better than anyone else. When you aim at a broad, generic target, your message gets lost. But when you speak directly to a specific pain, from a specific audience, you hit the mark. That's where real entrepreneurship begins. Want a classic example? Nike. Today, it's a global empire. But in the beginning, Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman had one focus: creating a better running shoe for long-distance runners. Not for every athlete, not for people chasing style, just for the ones who were sweating, blistered, and desperate for more stability. That market was small, but deeply committed. And most importantly, they were screaming for a solution. That's where the magic started. They didn't try to win the world all at once. They won over a niche, and then the world came to them. This strategy still works today. In the startup world, the smartest entrepreneurs pick niches with loud, painful problems. They're not chasing glamour. They're chasing efficiency. They know that by owning a small target market, they build credibility, sharpen their operations, and create real authority. And then, and only then, can they scale smart. What seems too small in the beginning can become the foundation of something massive. But only if you have the humility to start narrow. As we like to say, it's better to be the king of a neighborhood than a nobody in a continent. So, how can you apply this right now? Start with simple questions. Who are the 100 people who need my solution the most? What specific problems is this group dealing with? Then go deep. Don't hold back on personalization, service, or experience. The more you understand your audience, the more they trust you. And guess what? Trust is the new marketing. Businesses that get this right create tribes. And tribes don't just buy. They believe. They promote you. They grow with you. Look at what happened with Tesla's first customers, or the loyal fan base of Go Ape. And here's the kicker. Once you own a niche, the rest of the market starts to notice. Big players see you. Investors respect you. Customers follow you. You become the go-to expert in something nobody else is doing quite like you. And when it's finally time to scale, you'll realize you don't need everyone. You just need the right ones. But for all this to work, there's one crucial detail. You'll need financial stamina, because trying to scale fast without the funding to back it up could be the mistake that kills your business before it even takes off. This is one of the most overlooked and yet one of the most powerful entrepreneurial mindsets. Sell before you build. Sound a little strange, maybe even bold, right? But that's exactly what smart entrepreneurs do. They don't spend everything up front just to see if it works. They test demand before cranking up the machine. It's not just about financial survival. It's a strategy, because those who master pre-funding master the game. And no, it's not magic. It's a method. It's about creating desire before you have inventory. It's about delivering value before you even ship the product. Want a legendary example? Tesla. When Elon Musk joined the team, the plan was crystal clear. Build a high-end electric sports car, sell it at a premium, use the profit to fund a more affordable model, and repeat the cycle. But before building anything, they went on a roadshow. They found wealthy, eco-conscious early adopters and sold 100 cars. No factory, no product, just an idea. And 100 people left $100,000 each on the table. That's $10 million in the bank before the first screw was turned. That is unconventional entrepreneurship in all caps. And it didn't stop there. When they announced the Model 3, over 500,000 people placed $1,000 deposits. That's $500 million raised before the product even existed. Now think about that. That's using cash flow as a growth engine. And no, you don't need to be Tesla to apply this. Whether you sell consulting, courses, physical products, or services, try offering a pre-sale with bonuses, create a paid waitlist, or launch discounted packages for early believers. That's how you validate your idea and bring in real cash to move the business forward with less risk. And here's the coolest part. When a customer invests up front, they're committed. They're not just funding your production. They become natural ambassadors for your brand. Look at what happened with the early users of lynda.com. They were paying for access to knowledge before the platform went mainstream. Same with the first adventurers at Go Ape. They were signing up for the experience before it became a phenomenon. The secret? Connect value with urgency and purpose. Show people that what you're offering isn't just a product. It's part of a bigger mission. But of course, this takes trust. And to earn trust, you have to build something solid, even if it's still invisible at first. You need to be transparent, inspiring, and courageous enough to lead the way even while things are still under construction. Because once you learn how to fund your ideas with the help of the market, you unlock a whole new level of freedom. And that brings us to the next big question. How can I grow using what I already have around me? Which leads us straight into another mindset, just as powerful and just as often forgotten. Look around you. Seriously, take a moment and really look. Notice the spaces, the resources, the connections, the talent. Now tell me, are you really using all of it wisely? Because a lot of entrepreneurs believe they can only build something if they have everything in place. Capital, structure, a full team, their own office. But those with an unconventional entrepreneurial mindset know. You don't need to own everything. You just need to access it. And that changes everything. Instead of spending money you don't have, you borrow what already exists. You use it with respect. You share value. And you grow light and lean. That's exactly what Tristram and Rebecca Mayhew did. When they founded Go Ape, they didn't buy a forest. They didn't build parking lots. They didn't construct bathrooms. They had an idea, a high ropes adventure course through the trees. And they brought it to the one group that already had all the infrastructure sitting there unused. The UK Forestry Commission. They pitched a partnership, used public land, brought more visitors to parks, and generated profit for both sides. That's solving problems without creating new headaches. It's quiet innovation with massive impact. And this way of thinking can and should be applied to any type of business. Don't have an office? Partner with co-working spaces in exchange for visibility. Can't afford inventory? Try drop shipping or joint production agreements. Need tech but don't code? Find a technical co-founder or build a startup model that invites developers to join early on. All of this is about building with what already exists. It's moving from I can't to who already has this, and how can we collaborate? It's about seeing the world's assets like puzzle pieces waiting to be connected. But there's a catch. Ethics come first. Borrowing or asking for help isn't about taking advantage. It's about collaborative creation. It's about knowing how to negotiate, how to respect, and how to share the outcome. This isn't about stepping on someone else's turf or copying what others built. The ethical entrepreneur does move without waiting for permission sometimes, but never at someone else's expense. Because trust is a priceless asset, and trading for a quick win is always a bad deal. What you build through partnership lasts far longer than anything built alone out of stubbornness or speed. So now think with me, how many resources are already within reach, just waiting for you to extend your hand and say, let's do this together? How many opportunities are hidden behind the excuse of that's not mine? Great ideas don't die from lack of genius. They die from isolation. And the entrepreneur who learns to connect instead of hoard grows faster, stronger, and with far more purpose. And when that same entrepreneur realizes the system is slow, outdated, and full of red tape, You know what they do? Now it's time to talk about one of the biggest secrets in modern entrepreneurship: acting before the world is ready. You know that idea that seems too good, but you're waiting for someone to prove it? Forget it, because if you wait for everyone's, okay, you'll grow old standing in line. Game-changing entrepreneurs know this. They don't knock on the system's front door and ask for permission. They come in through the side and let their results do the talking. Here's the logic. If the world hasn't written a rule for it yet, you're probably on the right path. Want an unfiltered example? Uber. Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp didn't wait for transportation regulators to approve operating without meters, permits, or plates. They launched in San Francisco with an app that looked illegal but solved a real problem. Urban transport was broken, expensive, unreliable, and outdated. The rest is history. While the authorities were debating, Uber already had users, investors, and a scalable business model. That's more than boldness. It's the understanding that digital transformation doesn't need to apologize for existing. Now hold on. Don't confuse this mindset with recklessness. It's not about stepping on others. It's about seeing beyond the red tape. So many entrepreneurs have incredible ideas, but freeze at the fear of being rejected by outdated systems. The good news? You don't need anyone's green light to start. You need vision, creativity, courage, and a solid execution plan. Just imagine if the creators of Tesla had waited until every government fully embraced electric cars. Or if Linda Weinman had waited for some official permission to launch her online learning platform. If you believe in what you're doing, and you know you're solving a real problem, move forward. Test it, put it out into the world. Improve it through feedback. Of course, there will be criticism. There always is. But every minute spent waiting for approval might be a missed opportunity, because when you move, other things start moving too. Partners show up, clients appear, doors open. This isn't theory, it's a pattern. Among every unconventional entrepreneur out there, action comes before validation. And now, after everything we've talked about, it's time to flip the internal switch, to look in the mirror and ask yourself, which of these mindsets is already alive in me? And which one do I need to activate now? Because everything we've explored, from yes, we can, to don't wait for permission, isn't just a list. It's a compass, pointing to something bigger, the entrepreneur you're meant to become. So now tell me, which mindset spoke the loudest to you? Was it the bold, yes, we can, maybe the courage to take action without waiting? The power of narrowing your focus, or the brilliance of selling before you build? Whichever was. One thing's for sure, you're not the same after hearing this. But knowing is enough. The world doesn't change with information. It changes with action. So what's your first move? Will you look at your target market differently? Identify a real problem and build a solution? Knock on someone's door and ask for space, support, or a let's do this together? Or will you simply begin? The choice is yours. And the time to act is now. Drop a comment below and tell us, which mindset are you going to apply first on your entrepreneurial journey? Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and commit to the change. The world needs more people with vision, courage, and purpose. People like you. And of course, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stick around. Because if you want to learn how to think outside the box, build businesses with soul, and turn ideas into impact, this is your place. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember, those who dare build